So, you're not sure what to bet. Don't worry, I gotcha. Welcome, football fans, grid, iron, gamblers, and every last one of you degenerates. It's Mitch here, and it's time for my last minute best bets for week 11. I'm talking props, teasers, totals, maybe some win margins. Who knows? Anything and everything here on Money Mitch. So if you're excited to make some money in week 11, spike the like button and don't be a jabroni. Subscribe, man. Where I want to kick it off is how we will kick off week 11 on Sunday in Madrid with the appetizer game. That's what I call it. It's the morning game. You got your morning coffee and you want to root for something. You want to bet on something. You want to get a little action. You want to get a little dub early in the morning. Get your juices flowing, bro. I totally understand. So I'm going to give you this. Marcus Mariota over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Plus 125 plus money against the worst defense he's faced all season. Mariota has accomplished 2 passing touchdowns in 4 starts. 2 out of 4 of the starts, 2 touchdowns through the air, including last week against Detroit. This can be accomplished in a variety of ways. The Commanders come out, guns blazing. They go out there and they rip up the bad Miami defense and surprise them after the Dolphins coming off their Super Bowl win over the Buffalo Bills. They get an early lead. It's possible. Or Miami is in the lead, in control for a variety of reasons, because the Commanders have a terrible defense, and Mariota gets a couple garbage time touchdowns, or maybe 1 early touchdown, 1 garbage time touchdown. Either way, Mariota will get it done. He's an underrated quarterback. He's played really well this year, and he's performed against really good defenses, like Detroit and like Atlanta. Against the pass, those teams are solid. I think against the worst team, worst defense the Commanders have played, they're going to move the football. They're going to score some points. And this game is going to be competitive in Spain. So I'd take Marcus Mariota at plus money to toss 2 touchdowns. Another quarterback that I think is going under the radar this week is J.J. McCarthy with a real juicy matchup against the Chicago Bears. If for no other reason, you should bet J.J. McCarthy over 1.5 at minus 135 and put it in a parlay if you want. Because Justin Jefferson is coming off the worst game I've ever seen him play. And he's going to score a touchdown in this game. I almost guarantee it. Justin Jefferson is going to score. So that means that's 1 touchdown for J.J. McCarthy right there. I've already given you that one. He went for 2 touchdowns on only 20 attempts against Chicago in week 1 in his first ever NFL start on the road on Monday Night Football against a much healthier Chicago defense. This week, he plays a defense with the Bears that they're missing corners. Their 2 best, Gordon, Johnson. Brisker at safety injured. Linebacker TJ Edwards has been banged up. Their pass rush is not viable in Chicago. They have a terrible defense. And I think that people are underrating the Ravens' current state of their defense last week. And I think that Chicago is an overrated team. I like the Vikings to win. But even if they don't win, I think it's more likely because Chicago finds a way to move the ball and score some points than it is because Chicago wins in a defensive battle because they're not capable of it. Chicago constantly plays in high-scoring games. So JJ's going to throw a couple touchdowns. They trusted him to throw the ball 40 times against Baltimore last week. I think he'll have plenty of opportunity to throw some touchdowns against a weakened Chicago secondary. The next 2 quarterbacks that I like, sticking with these player props, and as we do here on Money Mitch, we love the quarterbacks and we love the kickers. We do. And we love points sometimes. I know I'm the Undertaker, but I also like overs when it comes to props because they're much more fun. Joe Flacco is a lot of fun. Over 1.5 touchdowns. Let's combine Flacco and JJ. Let's put that in a parlay together. Joe Flacco has gone over 1.5 touchdowns in, guess what, guys? Every single game that he has started for the Cincinnati Bengals. And it's still listed at minus 140. 4 games in a row, including throwing 4 touchdowns against this opponent on a Thursday night. I don't know. Take Joe Flacco over 1.5. I definitely think the Bengals are scoring at least 2 touchdowns in this game. It's expected to be a higher scoring game. The Bengals don't have a defense. These are always shootouts last year and this year between the Bengals and Steelers. So I think there will be a lot of points. Minus 140 is good odds for Flacco. You could combine that with JJ, and that's a pretty good looking parlay right there. Baker Mayfield is another underdog pick that I like here. Over 1.5 passing touchdowns at plus 125, plus money. The same price as Mariota, which is crazy considering Baker has been one of the best quarterbacks in football this year and has tossed 2 touchdowns or more in 6 of his 9 games, including last week against the Patriots. A good defense, a better defense than Buffalo. Now, Buffalo does have a good pass defense, according to the numbers. I think it's a little bit overrated. Luke Gedeke has returned for the Bucs at right tackle, which makes a major difference for pass protection, specifically against Rousseau and Boza. Gedeke and Wirfs on the edges should be able to hold up for Baker. I also think Emeka Egbuka last week looked a lot healthier. Cade Otton looked great. Rashad White. If a lot of people think the Bills are going to win, the Bills are probably going to score close to 30 points. It's typically what they do at home. The Bucs are going to have to keep up, and the Bucs are going to have to sling the football. So whether it be early or whether it be late, Baker's going to be throwing the football, and you know Baker's a wild man. He is going to make big plays in this game. He's going to scramble. He's going to buy extra time. He's going to throw into tight windows. Might result in an interception, but might also result in a couple touchdowns. I think Baker's being disrespected flat out. I think the Bucs are being disrespected in this game, getting 6 points at Buffalo. I like Baker to throw 2 touchdowns in this game, whether he wins or loses. It could be a lot like the Patriots game. So I like plus 125 for Baker. Now, when it comes to an any touchdown pick for tomorrow, I like Woody Marks at plus 150. I honestly couldn't believe that it was this good of a price. Now, the spread is really low, so I guess that's part of it. Or not the spread, but the total. You know what I mean. 37.5 is very low for an NFL game. Of course, the Texans feature the best defense in football. But Woody Marks is in a breakout season. He's in the breakout moment for Marks right now in his career. And they're going to give him a heavy workload, whether it's as a pass catcher or a runner. He's been efficient and effective, far better than Nick Chubb. And I think this is the time to strike with Woody Marks, betting his overs. I think he has a good day against Tennessee. I think he finds a way into the end zone, whether it be on a screen or slipping out of the backfield. He's done that a couple times, or by running the football. I think Woody Marks has a big fantasy day, and I think he scores a touchdown against the worst team in football. So Woody Marks, plus 150, anytime touchdown. Now, the one that you've all been waiting for, extra point props. We've got a few different kickers that I like here. I think the easiest one to throw into a parlay is on Monday night. So you'll have to wait for Mr. Aubrey to go over 2.5 extra points, which means the Cowboys would have to score 3 touchdowns. I think they'll likely score 4 or more in this game at Vegas. They're off of a bye. They have George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb rested, and they're playing one of the worst cornerback groups in football. Yes, the Cowboys defense has acquired a couple different players to help them just generally keep the score lower, so it's probably not going to be like a shootout, but Aubrey is almost automatic, and because I believe Dallas will have the lead for a variety of reasons, I believe that they'll be kicking extra points, not going for 2, which is always a factor, but it's minus 155, which is basically you win half your money back, but that's why I would throw it into a parlay with something else. I think my second favorite pick is Pinheiro for the 49ers. I always struggle with his name, that Mexican man. I like San Francisco's kicker, or San Francisco just in general, to score a lot of points in this game. I think San Francisco down the stretch could have maybe the best offense in the league. They haven't been healthy all season. Brock Purdy returns for this game against Arizona. Ricky Pearsall is back for the 49ers. Christian McCaffrey George Kittle, Jawan Jennings, Kendrick Bourne, Demarcus Robinson, Brian Robinson, they're all playing, okay? The offensive line, Trent Williams, they're all playing. The only guy that's missing is Brandon Ayuk, and I could see the Niners scoring a lot here for a variety of reasons. Now, the Cardinals do have a good defense. The Cardinals are at home, but the Cardinals are beat up in their secondary. They don't have Will Johnson. They don't have Taylor Demerson. That's a corner and a safety in the back end of their defense. Max Melton has been dealing with issues. Mac Wilson, their best linebacker, is also out. So I look at some of their best coverage players, specifically in the middle of the field against Kittle and McCaffrey. That is going to hurt, and then missing Will Johnson, the number one corner that would likely cover a Ricky Pearsall on the outside. That's also going to hurt. So I think the Niners are going to score just because of personnel advantages. But then, of course, you have Kyle Shanahan, who's only really had 2 games with Brock Purdy this year, and this kind of more passing-oriented 49er offense. If you guys didn't know, the Niners actually lead the NFL in passing yards per game this year. That includes Mac Jones and Brock Purdy as a collective at around 280 yards per game. So Kyle Shanahan has kind of shifted to more of a pass-heavy offense, and that means I feel like Brock Purdy is going to be pushing the ball. And we haven't really seen Brock Purdy this year and this offense, which might catch the Cardinals off guard to a certain degree. Because in the first game, they played Mac Jones. And in this game, they're going to play Brock Purdy. So I just think there's a lot of ways that the Niners could catch the Cardinals in this game. So I like their kicker to go over 2.5 extra points. That's minus 115. It's a really nice price. I would bet that by itself, but you could include that with Aubrey for a pretty nice parlay there. One that I think is really disrespected, it's not a great price, but it's only for 2 touchdowns, is Chase McLaughlin. Again, we talked about Baker Mayfield throwing 2 touchdowns. If you think that's going to happen, which has happened 6 out of 9 games, that doesn't even including running the ball, of course. McLaughlin at minus 190, that's basically meaning you win half your money, is Chase McLaughlin 1.5, like 2 touchdowns against the Bills? Like, do we think the Bills defense is like the 85 Bears? Like, I don't really understand this. Why, in what world did the Bucs not score 2 touchdowns? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. The Bills aren't that good. I don't know. They're not a juggernaut. I've seen teams go in there like the Dolphins and score 2 touchdowns. The Patriots score 2 touchdowns. I think the Saints might have scored 2 touchdowns in Buffalo. So, yeah, Buffalo's defense has been a bit better, but you can run the ball on them. And Baker's a really good quarterback, and they still have the 2 tackles there. They've got enough weapons to get it done. Like, this could happen for a variety of reasons. The only reason this would not happen to me is if they go for 2 because they're trailing. That's like really the only way for me. But I think it's worth it to throw in with someone else in a parlay. Even Aubrey, if you want to do Aubrey and McLaughlin, it's a little bit less of a payout, but it gets you in plus money territory for sure. Chase McPherson is plus 140 for 2.5 extra points. So if you think the Bengals are going to score, if you think Joe Flacco is going to throw some touchdowns, Chase McPherson, 2.5 extra points is plus 140 is a really nice price if you think the Bengals will get to 21 points. Richard of the Vikings is also at 2.5 extra points, minus 115. I think the Vikings will score in the high 20s in that game. Those are 2 other ones, but I think the ones that I like the most are the 3 that I mentioned first, which is the Cowboys, the Bucks, and the Niners getting at least basically 3 touchdowns for the Niners and the Cowboys, and then 2 touchdowns for the Bucks with the extra points. Okay, so those are our extra point parlay. If you want to put in McLaughlin, Pinheiro, and Aubrey, that would be the parlay to choose. And then Richard and McPherson are bonus if you like those. But look into that yourself. McPherson, I just feel like the way that the Bengals have been moving the football, it's a pretty good bet at plus 140. Okay, let's talk about some teasers. So there are some teaser options that I do like this week. There are a lot of games that I think will be close and competitive. I don't usually like teasing spreads that I would bet on the spread. So keep that in mind. Like, just for example, if I want to if I'm thinking about teasing the 49ers, I wouldn't do that. Like, I think the Niners will win, but the Niners are -3. Why wouldn't I just lay the 3? Or play the Niners in some other way to win the game. Like, that's just an example, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But there are other ways. Like, if you like the Chargers, for example, why would I not just lay 3 or take the money line or take some other variation of that? But there are games that I think are nice to look at. I would actually avoid the Ravens. I think that could be a spoiler upset spot. Lamar's kind of beat up. The Ravens are missing Marlon Humphrey. The Browns are elite at home on defense. They did lose to the Browns last year in Cleveland. So I would actually avoid that. I think Denver is a good one for a teaser, moving from, especially if you can get 4, moving it up to 10 or 11 or 10.5 if you want to use a 6.5 point parlay. Depending on your preference of 6, 6.5, 7. You could put Denver in there. I think it's a defensive game. I think Denver hangs around. There's a chance the Chiefs blow them out, but in Denver, it's probably unlikely. I think so. Denver is an interesting one. I think Carolina could win the game outright. So whenever I feel like a team can win a game outright, getting 9.5 points, more than one possession in a divisional matchup that I also think will be low scoring, I think is a pretty good call. The Panthers beat them 30-0 at home earlier in the year, and they're 3.5 point dogs, so tease that out to 9.5. Pretty nice look. The Seahawks getting to 9, making that a one possession game, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. I think there's another way to bet that, but I do feel like this game is going to come down to the wire. Last possession wins. Both teams are really talented. I think in a lot of ways, Seattle has the better defense. Seattle is great on the road, so no reason to really think they won't be in the game near the end. Both the games last year were extremely close. Mike McDonald, Sean McVay is going to be a chess match. I like 9 points with Seattle in a teaser. The Packers might be my favorite, going down from 7-1. I think there's almost no way that they lose this game. Jameis Winston is at quarterback, and yes, he has a lot of aura, but I just don't see how the Giants win that game. They can't stop the run. They have no weapons. Now they don't have Jackson Dart's ability to run. So, like, the Giants are just down bad. I know that Brian Daboll is out as the coach, and there's a typical head coach bump, but it's basically an extension of Daboll. Daboll and Kafka are basically the same guy. Like, I don't really understand the bump there. So yeah, Packers are definitely going to win. They're not losing 3 straight games. And then the Detroit Lions on Sunday Night Football. I expect this game to be lower scoring. I see the total has actually moved to 47, which to me makes no sense considering Sam Laporta has been put on IR. I think it will be a lower scoring game, actually. I think it's going to be like 24-20 or 23-20, something like that, like flirting around that range. I could see like 23-17. I think both offenses are significantly overrated, and I think the Eagles' defense right now is really, really good. And I think the Lions' defense, as long as they don't give up bombs down the field to A.J. Brown, I don't really know how the Eagles are going to consistently be able to just decimate Detroit's defense, because I don't think that they'll be able to run the ball that well, and the Eagles are just really simple on defense, really simple on offense. Like, they're very easy to figure out, and I think the Lions can stay in the game physically with them. I think Detroit is one of the most physical teams in football, and they are able to match the Eagles in the front 7, I think. So 8.5, I mean, the Lions almost never get blown out. I could see the Lions winning this game. I really could. Do we think the Eagles are going to just beat every good team they play this year? Like, that would be pretty ridiculous. The Chiefs, the Rams, every good team other than Denver, I guess. They lost to Denver. But it feels like they've beat almost every good team they've played. The Packers. Are they going to beat the Lions too? Maybe by like 4 or 5 or 6. Maybe even 7. But 8.5, 10? You think the Eagles are going to win by 10? I don't know, man. That's a lot. So those are some teaser legs that I would look at. Now, in terms of team totals, some totals that I like. And of course, I'm the Undertaker, so we have all unders here for you guys to think about. But you guys know that I like the under in the Chiefs and Broncos game. As my computer kind of freezes for a second. Hopefully we're still all good here. I think we should be fine. Weird. Okay. Team totals. I like the Chiefs and Broncos under. I think my favorite team total under is Chiefs under 24.5. In Denver, I don't see how the Chiefs score 27 points. I don't see how that happens. Basically doing math, I mean, almost no one scores 25, 26 points. Like, that, never happens. 25, how often do you see 25? I guess it happens sometimes, but very, very rare. 25. So, basically, you're asking the Chiefs to play against the Denver defense on the road after they looked terrible against the Bills on the road. You're asking them to block Zach Allen and Nick Bonito consistently with no run game to speak of, no balance to speak of, and score 27 points. That's at minus 125. I think I will be betting that. I also like the other side of that, Broncos under 20.5, which is minus 120. I think it's going to be difficult for the Broncos to score 21 points, even at home against the Chiefs. So I just collectively like the under in that game, period. So the total is at 45. I like the under for both sides, honestly. But if you have a preference, that's kind of why I bring it up. But I think the Chiefs are a little overvalued offensively in this matchup. They've struggled to score against Denver the last couple times they've played them. The Bears under 21.5 is plus 110. Against Brian Flores in Minnesota, that's a difficult task to score 22 points with a quarterback that I don't think is very good in Caleb Williams. Tennessee, taking their under 15.5 is minus 110 against the best defense in football in the Texans. They scored 0 points. 0 the last time they played the Texans. Okay, the game was 6-0 after 3 quarters. Are the Texans going to allow 17 points or 16 points to the Tennessee Titans? Probably not. So under 15.5 if the full game scares you. If you think the Texans have a chance to blow them out, for example, I would just play the Titans team total under 15.5. I think I actually do like the under 15.5 at minus 110 over under 14.5 at minus 105. I don't really see a lot of difference there. Just in case the Titans kick a bunch of field goals, I'll take the under 15.5, or they go for 2 at some point. There's a possibility of 15 points, right? And then the Cardinals are also striking at under 22.5. Now, I know that the Niners are not a good defense, but 22.5 is a lot of points. So you're asking the Cardinals to score 23 or 24 points. And they don't have Marvin Harrison Jr. They don't have James Conner. They don't have their right tackle. And they have Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. Their best receivers are Greg Dortch, Michael Wilson. They have Trey McBride, but this might be the easiest in terms of personnel the 49ers defense has faced in a long time. Think about who the 49ers have faced from a defensive standpoint. They played the Rams. They played the Bucks. They've played the Falcons. I guess maybe the Giants, but the Giants were scoring garbage time points just to get into the 20s. And Jackson Dart has kind of been more threatening than Jacoby Brissett to me. Who else have the Niners played? They've played a lot of good offenses this year, it feels like. And they've held their own for the most part. 22.5 is a lot with no weaponry. It's just a lot of points. So I think the under there is interesting for the Cardinals. And then win margins is where I want to finish this off with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So win margins could be available for you. It's most likely available in most places. And I think they're a good way to play money lines, but just with better odds. So for example, you can bet on the Steelers to win by 1 to 13 points or by 1 to 6 points. 1 to 13 points is at plus 110. And then 1 to 6 points is plus 290. So for example, if you think the Steelers are going to win, but you think the Bengals are going to cover, then betting the Steelers at 1 to 6 points at plus 290, which is almost 3 times your money, is a really good bet. Is it not? So I think the Steelers' chances of beating the Bengals is extremely strong. I don't think they're going to lose twice to a very flawed Bengals defense. I just don't see that happening at home. But the Steelers are not really good enough to win by margin against most NFL teams. And this game is likely to be close because the Steelers are not very good on defense. They can't really cover the receivers of the Bengals. And I just think it's the most maxed way to maximize your odds and your money here for betting on the Steelers. So you could be more conservative in taking them 1 to 13 just in case you think they could win by 10 or something like that. That's only plus 110. But that's the same, or that's actually even better than laying 6. So usually laying 6 for the Steelers or laying 5.5 would be minus 110. But if you think that the Bengals will hang in the game within 2 touchdowns, you can get a little bit better odds, actually slightly plus money at plus 110. So either one of those I think is pretty fun. The Chiefs, I think, are very likely to beat the Broncos, but is it going to be a blowout against that defense on the road? Probably not. You can get Chiefs by 1 to 6 points, which is one of the best bets you've been able to make the last 2 years. Like the Chiefs last year in this bet won you how much money? Like a ridiculous amount of money. The Chiefs just kept winning close games. So them to win by 1 to 6 is plus 270. And then them to win by 1 to 13 is plus 110, just like the Steelers. You can even parlay these as well. You can parlay them too, like Steelers and Chiefs, both to win by 1 to 13. Both teams you think you're going to win, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. Okay, let's get plus 220. You know what I'm saying? Then the Rams and the Seahawks. This one's a little bit more risky because I think that both teams have a chance to win a little bit stronger than the Chiefs and the Broncos and or the Steelers and the Bengals. But plus 280 in a game that probably will be decided by 3 or 4, instead of laying 3 with the Rams, if you think the Rams are going to win at home, just take them to win by 1 to 6. Because the game is most likely going to be 24-21, 23-20, 27-23. 28-24. That's probably the way the game is going to end. 30-27, 27-23. That type of score. So I think them winning by 1 to 6 is pretty solid. And even if you want to play both sides of that coin, you could probably do it and still win some money. The Bills. The books are kind of telling you that the Bills are going to win this game. They've moved the spread to 6. So the Bills are now minus 6, which is, to me, it's crazy. Like, I think the Bucs are going to be in this game. But they're kind of telling you the Bills are going to win. So why not take the Bills by 1 to 13 points at minus 102? That's better than if you think that the Bucs are going to be in the game and you think the Bucs are probably going to cover this game, but you kind of get the sense the Bills are going to win. I mean, maybe be a little bit more conservative and just take the Bills to win by 1 to 13 points at minus 102. So that's also a really nice price. And then the Texans in a total that is 37.5. But we've talked about, are the Titans going to score a point? Maybe you lose this because the Texans win 14-0. But the Texans by 1 to 13 is also minus 102. So there's some really nice win margin bets this week. And some really opportunities to parlay these for some big money. So those are... I'll probably be betting multiple of these. I'm not even going to lie. They're probably going to be on Patreon. And guys, if you're not on Patreon, make sure to check it out. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment in the comment section below. And the final bet I do want to leave you with is our half final bet parlay, which I would take the Packers and the 49ers at plus 358 when you put them together in a parlay to lead at half and to win at the end of the game. So instead of laying 7 with the Packers on the road or laying 3 with the Niners on the road, take them both to get the early lead and to sustain the lead against teams they should beat. I think for a variety of reasons, the Packers should be fired up in this game to go to New York and lay the smackdown early. And I think they'll be able to sustain the lead with their run game against the Giants' run defense. The 49ers, I think because of the Brock Purdy stuff, they're going to come out firing, and I think their offense is going to be humming early, and I think that's going to sustain throughout the game. So I think that is a really nice look as well. That's where I'll leave you guys. Don't forget to spike the like button and subscribe. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching, and good luck on your bets. Peace.